Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this is the 4th generation Honda Pilot in the new Trailsport trim. This is the largest and most powerful SUV Honda has ever produced. And unlike the Passport Trailsport that we've already tested on the channel, this is more than just wheels and tires and some all-weather floor mats. This is a legitimate competitor in this kind of big 3-row soft-roader, off-roader class. And in this video, I'm gonna run you through all of the details. Stay tuned. Before we get too far into this one, I do want to thank Honda for bringing this vehicle to us to test for a full week here on the channel. This is technically a 2023 model, but for 2024, really the only difference is about a $50 price increase. So you will still get all the benefits of what we're going to talk about in this video for not that much more money, including the V6 underneath the hood here, which unfortunately is supported by a prop rod, not gas struts. We'll get into that here in a little bit. We are also on the verge of a legendary Texas polar vortex. So this vehicle may come in handy when the weather turns south over the next 24 to 48 hours. But while we've got the hood up, let's talk about what actually motivates this vehicle. It is Honda's 3.5 liter direct injection V6, making 285 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission. It's running the 2nd generation of their Intelligent Variable Torque Management, or IVTM4 all-wheel drive system, which does give you many different drive modes from normal, Econ, Sport, Snow, Tow, Sand, and what we'll be testing out today, Trail mode, which comes with a bunch of cool stuff. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But it is a very stout engine. I do like that it is non-turbocharged. It's just a standard V6. It doesn't get too fancy with electronics and still returns decent fuel economy at 18 city, 23 highway, 20 combined. All the way around, a pretty good, solid option here in the Honda Pilot Trailsport. Let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, or in the woods out here with us while I am in this position. You can see we've got one wheel down in a hole, which does have our rear driver's side up in the air. The all-wheel drive system in this can send up to 75% of the engine's torque to one tire, which in this situation would probably be back passenger or maybe even front passenger, and will send 25% to the corresponding wheel for when it regains traction. This really is a good system. So as long as you have one wheel that still has good traction, you're probably going to get out of the situation as long as you're not hung up. This one does also feature some underbody protection, including an engine skid and a fuel tank skid. The engine skid can support up to 100% of the vehicle's body weight if it were to slam on a rock. And we do have recovery points both front and rear. This is more than just wheels and tires and some floor mats on the inside, like the last generation or I guess current generation Passport Trailsport that we tested earlier this summer. Honda has really put in some thoughtfulness in this vehicle above and beyond the all-wheel drive system. You can see we are kissing the ground, or about to kiss the ground up here. We've got just a little bit of clearance. We'll talk about approach and departure angles here in just a second, but I want to talk a little bit about styling. This is the only vehicle currently on this shared platform for the new updated design language. This is a 2023 model, as I mentioned, and the corresponding 2023 and 2024 Ridgeline and Passports still sport the old design, the old structure. They have not been updated to this new body structure yet, but if this is any indication, those are going to be some pretty awesome vehicles as well. We get that new Honda corporate look up front, LED headlights, LED running lights, LED all the things up front, LED fogs even as well. Very rugged, masculine look to the vehicle up front here, and it really does give a more strong presence than the outgoing model that was very round and not as rugged looking as this one. We'll go ahead and say this does have 8.3 inches of ground clearance, a 19.8 degree approach angle, 19 degree departure angle, 19.6 degree breakover angle. This is in a very competitive class of off-road focused 3-row SUVs. You've got the Chevy Traverse coming out with a Z71 trim. You've got the GMC Acadia. You've got the Kia Telluride X Pro, the Kia Sorento X Line that we tested out here not that long ago, and a forthcoming 2024 X Pro version that replaces that X Line. Got a lot of stuff coming to this segment, and you've even got competitors like Subaru with their Ascent. We don't have a wilderness version of that yet, but I do see that forthcoming. You can see it is not the best approach or departure angle on this. 19's front and rear is a little on the low side, but you can see this is going to be enough for most consumers who are really taking these out to go camping. This is not your typical situation, but it's good to know that if you find yourself in a predicament like this, you're going to be able to get yourself out of it. Coming up to the wheels and tires, these are the most aggressive tires that Honda has ever put on a vehicle. These are 18-inch 265/60 R18 Continental TerrainContact all-terrain tires. They are very significant. You can see just how much dirt and clay we've got caked in them just right now, but they do bite and bite quite well. Wrapped around some very unique Trailsport specific Honda wheels. You can see that Trailsport badge is even in the wheel itself, which is a very cool, rugged off-road look. We do have independent suspension all the way around, so when we get around to the driver's side, you will see that one wheel up in the air, but this is about the max amount of travel you're going to see between the front and the rear. Just here on the front, we've got that front wheel pretty much all the way down up front and a stuffed wheel back here in the back. You really cannot put much more tire on this vehicle. We'll see even better when we see that front driver's side. This really is about all you're going to get without any additional clearance from putting a lift on it. Speaking of lift, this does have an off-road tuned suspension that does give you a 1-inch lift over other Pilot models. So just something of note there. Honda has done more than wheels, tires, and floor mats in this one. This is a serious competitor in the segment. But as I mentioned, coming over here to the driver's side, yeah, you are not going to get much more tire in here than what we've got here with these Continental tires on these 18-inch wheels. You might be able to go down to a 17, which really is my preference for an off-road wheel, and get more sidewall, but you're not going to get much more tire. That is for sure. You can see, again, we've got just a little bit of air underneath this one, but given that there is zero traction back here, this wheel will still move as the other one spins to get us free, because it splits the power 75-25, 75 to the wheel with traction, 25 to the one without. I can say, even though this is a unibody suspension or unibody designed vehicle, the body itself in this precarious situation is not torqued, and all the doors open just fine, the hatch opens just fine. It's a very comfortable vehicle all the way around, and this situation is not stressing it. And as we open the hatch, you will see we get a decent amount of space back here behind the third row of seats. Most consumers are going to be traveling with these third row seats down. You can see we do have top tethers all the way across. It is a 60-40 split bench. Tucker's child seat is back here in the back. Be sure to subscribe to see our family review of this, but they are very easy to lay flat, and that gives you even more room with them laid flat. One feature I absolutely love, again, Honda just giving some thoughtfulness to who's going to be using this vehicle and for what. You get this cargo cover back here, this false load floor, hard plastic here on this side, which I really like. You can lift up this and you've got all this hard plastic lined storage down underneath. You can see large enough for a couple of backpacks just like mine, But look, we've got carpet on this side, and that is because in normal situations, maybe you're not carrying around muddy boots, you can put this down and have a carpeted floor mat. So now you don't have stuff rattling back here, making a lot of noise. It is a very thoughtful feature. Given how much red clay and junk we've got out here today, my boots are probably going to end up here before the day is over. So I am going to go ahead and flip it back to the hard plastic side. Putting these seats back up is very easy. You just pull on this strap and you can pull them all the way back to their most reclined state right here, just showing you about what we've got here. Unfortunately, it is a little bit of a two-handed operation to make sure that they don't flop back on you. We do get a little extra power back here and a little bit of extra storage, nothing too great. I can talk about how much clearance I've got, but given we're in a precarious situation, it's more than enough. I'm 5'10". This hatch opens wide enough. Power button is right here to close it. Before we get too far into this one, I do want to show you the key. Typical Honda key, nothing too special about it. I do like how compact it is. It's very easy to slide in your pocket, your purse, wherever you keep your key. And it's got everything you need on it as well. Lock, unlock, remote start, hatch button, and a panic button. You can deploy a physical key from it as well, but it is a proximity key, so just keep it in your pocket. We'll note the front doors have passive entry here, so you just tap your hand on the back of the door handle and that unlocks it. You can lock it right here. It is not on all four doors though, so it can't do it here. And it also locks the fuel door if you're interested. So locking the vehicle does protect your fuel door as well. It also, unlocking it, locking it, power folds your mirrors. But getting inside, you can see we've got a very nice interior in this one, very upscale. We've got two-person memory seats, all of our window control buttons right here. A little bit of gloss black, which isn't my favorite, but tons of storage in the doors. Really like that. All-weather floor mats are a prerequisite for an off-road focused vehicle, but you'd be surprised how many vehicles don't put all-weather floor mats. I'm looking at you, Chevy Colorado Trail Boss. Get a multi-positional seat here with two-way lumbar, which is really nice. They are heated. These are not ventilated. Given that this is the Trailsport model, we get Trailsport embroidered in them, lots of orange accents around because that is the signature color of the Trailsport trim. As we pop in, I'll put my foot on the brake, let it start up. Very unique gauge cluster in this one. So this is a traditional analog gauge. Everything starting right here and going over is part of a, I believe, 7-inch TFT screen. So you can customize what is displayed over there. It's a good combination of both things. It is a very updated look. Honda is a little slow to update to the full digital tech, and I think this is a good compromise. We'll go ahead and start over my left knee right here. We get our hatch button, heated windshield, and traction control button. Poverty button to let you know that you don't have the top trim. More gloss black around this AC vent. Interesting injection molded plastic that it doesn't quite match what's here on the door in texture, but it does look very similar. As we work our way across, again, that mixed use infotainment or driver information screen here. No head-up display in our model. Typical Honda steering wheel with your volume controls over here, your cruise control here. This does have lane keeping and it does have adaptive cruise control in it. And then you can control that screen from right here. You can see we're getting all kinds of notifications up there. We do get a 9-inch infotainment system, color infotainment, that does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can also obviously plug it in and use it wired, but I really like, it's not overly done. It is on the small side for the class, but after so many inches, size doesn't really matter anymore. It's more of what you do with it. For the most part, Honda really knocks it out the park with this. I will say one shortcoming of this is an off-road focused model. I do appreciate that we do have 360 cameras in this one. I do appreciate that there is a dedicated camera button, but it is a digital button. I really wish they gave us a physical button to access the cameras, not having to dig through the screens. But I am glad that it's still here. One plus is they are very clear, crisp, easy to see. And you can see here on our bird's eye, you can actually tell where the wheels are pointed. Try and get as little glare on there as possible, as well as some trajectory for your front and rear wheels noted in orange there. Really good, really solid. If you put this in trail mode, it activates these cameras that they dub TrailWatch. You can see I'm also looking at my front wheels. Very nice, very clear view. I can also see when I'm getting too close to some objects. So I like that a lot. Otherwise, it works very well, very snappy. CarPlay works very well. This also has cabin talk and a bunch of other features that you would expect. A little bit of storage up here in front of the passenger. We've got dual zone climate control, actually tri-zone if you count the back. Automatic with, again, heated front seats, not ventilated seats. You can control the rear stuff right here. Again, more gloss black, not my favorite, but it does the job, I guess. A little bit of storage right here, USB-A, USB-C, along with an additional power point. A Qi wireless charger that sort of works, but at least they give you a power button so you can put some cell phone stuff up here. Otherwise, it is rubberized, so it's not going to rattle up here. I do like that. Couple cup holders with little grippers in it. My least favorite thing, I really wish they would give us a traditional gear selector. I'm not a fan of the buttons, but you push for drive, push for neutral, kind of pull back on reverse and push for park. It takes up the same amount of room that a traditional gear lever would. I just wish they'd give us a traditional. Here's your drive mode selector. We'll go over those here in just a second. Electronic parking brake with park hold, hill descent control, and a button to turn off the auto start stop. As far as our drive modes here, we have Econ, no dedicated Econ button like in other Honda products. Going down from there, we've got snow, trail, sand, tow, and then we'll go up, normal, and sport. We're going to test out a good chunk of those today, but we're going to leave it in trail for the situation that we are currently in. You can see that automatically engages our cameras. Really like that as well. Leather wrapped center console armrest with a decent amount of storage in here with a tiered little section right here. No, these aren't our business cards. We're not looking for a Chevy. I already own one, but this is rubberized, so you can put stuff in here and not have to worry about it rattling around. Rubberized, very nice indeed. More storage in the passenger door, a damped, very damped glove box. Again, we're kind of at a weird angle here. With a decent amount of storage in it. I'm going to do my best to reduce the sun glare. I really want to show you how this gets out of its predicament that we're currently in just a moment. So that's why we're still at this particular angle. We do have a sunglass holder up here, but you can't position that so that you can see those back seats. A traditional rear view mirror, no rear view camera mirror in this. And here are all of our controls for our massive panoramic roof. You can see me at 5'10", go ahead and adjust my beanie. I've got plenty of headroom. It does kind of cut close, but again, multi-positional seat here. I can't adjust it quite well. Let's go ahead and hop into those back two rows and see how those fit. Coming to the back doors, again, I want to note these are not passive entry, so you would have to unlock it by touching one of the front doors before coming around to the back door. Back doors do have one of my favorite features. We have manual sunshades back here in the back. I really like it. As a father of a 5-year-old, those suction cup versions they don't work. So I really like it when family vehicles like this incorporate those as built in. Just as much storage back here in the rear door as in the front doors, which is really nice. Cup holders and the like. We've got captain's chairs in our particular model back here. You can option a bench. It really depends on what trim you have and what the ratings for that vehicle are, whether or not you can get a bench. Honda is really pushing the limits of the payload capacity, and that really does matter how many seats you can get in your vehicle. Can see we've got exposed lower latches, very nice. All the orange trim from up front, but no Trailsport in the headrests. We do have a power release button right here that I'll show you in a little bit. Your recline right there, and then they do slide a fair amount forward and back. So this is full forward, and that is fully back. You can see from there. We'll go ahead and climb in, see what it's like. Yes, sitting behind myself at 5'10", very nice, very comfortable. Big map pocket right here, cell phone pocket right here that is felt lined, because they really do want you putting your cell phone in there, so it still protects it. That is the iPhone 14 Pro Max, so even large phones can fit in there, no problem. Not really worried about it flopping out. Really like that. That is a nice touch. Coming back here, we've got air vents on the back of the center console. Slight miss for me versus some competitors like the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek. That gives you ceiling mounted vents, but still enjoy that there are vents back here with a third zone climate control. No heated seats back here, which is also a little bit of a miss, considering some of the options from Kia that Telluride even gives you ventilated second row seats. But generally fairly nice back here. 2 USB-A ports, an auxiliary power port back here. Same storage on the back here with a cell phone pocket. And then you get a hard plastic center console, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, right here. Headroom for me, still good, probably as good, if not better, than what's up front. Not really stadium style seating here in this one, but let's go ahead and pop out. We will push that button right there, which folds the seat back forward. Can't do it if you've got a child seat in place, so that is a little bit of a knock, but you do still have that wide center opening if you have a couple car seats in to climb around back to the back. Honda does give you a couple of steps to climb into the back. And I will go ahead and note, while we're looking at these seat belts, this is intended to be a 3-person third row seat, but you can see just how narrow that third person would have to be. The seat belt does retract into the ceiling back here. So generally, you're not going to have someone sit back here. This really could be a 50-50 split, 2-person, but Honda gives you the option of a third person if needed. Sitting back here myself, we've got all-weather floor mats down here still in the third row, which is a nice touch. And with that seat forward, I'm fairly comfortable, especially with that open area from the captain's chairs. Let's go ahead and bring this back. Okay, so no complaints so far with the seat back in its furthermost position. This is a comfortable back seat, but again, putting 3 people back here is going to be a no-go. Nice big windows, so I'm not too claustrophobic back here. I do have an air vent right here. I do have a USB-A port. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you in. USB-A port back here and a couple cup holders. So all around, the amenities back here are not that bad. We also have a button to get out, so makes that nice and easy. That's enough tour of the inside. Let's see what this torque management system is really like and how easy I can get out of my current situation. All right, gearheads, I'm very curious what this is going to do when I start moving forward. Go ahead and turn off my parking brake, put it in drive. I'm in trail mode. Let's go and see what this does. Oh yeah, walked right out of it. No problem whatsoever. That was completely uneventful. So let's talk a little bit more about the traction management system in this. It uses a combination of twin clutches and the brake activation at individual wheels to again give you up to 75-25 split between 2 corresponding wheels. Traction is not really the issue in this vehicle. It is more the approach and departure and breakover angles that would lead me to worry a little bit about what this is capable of when it gets to doing really serious stuff, which is why we are not at our usual off-road proving grounds of Barnwell Mountain. The weather has really taken its toll out there, and short of a purpose-built off-road vehicle that has lockers and things like that, we really don't do a lot of crossover testing out there much anymore. But I do think that the overriding powertrain components of this will get you out of any situation this vehicle can get you into. But again, those approach, departure, and breakover angles are really the weakest part of this vehicle when it comes to its off-road ability. We'll see what this thing is capable of. Again, I really don't want to scrape a nose or anything like that. We do have a skid up front and over the fuel tank, but the 19 degrees of approach, departure, and breakover angle is really what I'm concerned about. Okay, this thing really does not care. As long as you've got one wheel making traction with the ground, this thing will get you out of the situation. Other things that make this a Trailsport model, again, we have an off-road tuned suspension and an extra inch of ground clearance over non-Trailsport models. You still get the same off-road torque management system in this, but you also get those skid plates, the wheels and tires. I think this is a competent package for any family that needs a 3-row vehicle and that does occasionally venture off the beaten path. This really is a good system all the way through and through. And anything that I try and make it do today, it's going to do for me. I really do think Honda has done a bang-up job on this. And the proof is in the pudding. Again, going back to this year's Rebel Rally, or last year's Rebel Rally, this competed in the bone stock class and did quite well at the helm, or helmed by my friend Mercedes Lilienthal. She was able to navigate this thing. Again, the only difference in that one and this one, besides visually, were the Maxxis tires that they put on those for a little bit of extra traction, and they never had any tire issues either. So very good there. This is perhaps the soggiest, wettest, most interesting situation we're going to get it in while we're out here off-roading before we actually can head on-road and see how this thing handles on-road, because more consumers are really going to be driving these on-road than off, but we're really going to get into this slippery stuff, and I mean, uneventful. When a vehicle is really good, it comes off as uneventful on camera, and that's really the best, highest praise of an off-road vehicle when sending it through some stuff. This is really slick, really wet red clay, and it is walking through it just fine. I am truly impressed with the way that this is motoring about without any issues, without any troubles. I already mentioned the underbody protection, being able to hold the entire weight of the vehicle if needed. And yeah, this thing just keeps moving forward no matter the situation underneath me. My only thought in the back of my head is approach, departure, and breakover angle. And I don't know if you noticed, but the parking sensors did do some automatic emergency front braking for me before we went through that mud earlier. But this thing really is handling it all quite well. I've got no complaints. This thing, very competent off-road components here in the Trailsport version of the Honda Pilot. One more time through the muddy stuff, and we'll see again if our parking sensors will automatically brake us coming up to this approach angle. Let's see, coming through the slop. Yep, automatic braking, but just uneventful. It really is quite boring. The most eventful thing is the fact that the vehicle thought we were going to crash and put the brakes on. Other than that, simple. Just walks right up, walks right through the stuff, no matter the situation. Very impressed. Very good tires for maintaining traction. Very good traction management system for maintaining forward momentum. Now, let's get this thing into where it's going to spend a majority of its time. That's on the road. We'll talk about what sacrifices were made on road to make this so good off-road. All right, as we get off of the off-road situation, I'm gonna put it back into sport mode, push the drive button. We're gonna get some of the clay off of these tires. We're gonna see how this thing performs on road, where a majority of people are going to be spending their time in these. My goodness, that was a lot. Getting this out on the road, it is comfortable. It's a comfortable ride. Although with that extra inch of ground clearance and the off-road tuned suspension, it does kind of make it a little floaty, boaty. It feels very floaty. I will say that. So the fact that there's a sport mode in this, which I'm currently in, which is absolutely holding the gears a little more than I would expect in this one. sport mode's a little bit laughable and something that is also meant to do off-road stuff, which this does very well. But sport mode, again, holds those gears, helps in passing situations, helps in merging situations, which is what we're about to see. As we come up to this intersection where the speed limit is 70 miles an hour, let's go on and see. She'll scoot, and again, just like off-roading, the traction management in this made that very uneventful. Like, there was no tire squeal, there was no pump and circumstance. It just moved and it went. And given that we were in sport mode, it helped me get into the meat of the power band. When the vehicle works as designed, a lot of stuff is kind of uneventful, and that's really what you would expect from a big 3-row family SUV. Not a lot of pump and circumstance. You just want it to do stuff well. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back into normal mode, and we'll talk a little bit more about what this is like to live with. Again, floaty boaty suspension. Those all-terrain tires are a little noisier, especially on this highly textured pavement. But now we're on less textured pavement. It's not as bad. Wind noise is there, but today is also extremely windy. Again, we're on the verge of another infamous polar vortex, so we've got that to look forward to. But generally, it's a good SUV. Brakes are good. They're not squishy and spongy. I'd say the most notable characteristic of this in normal driving is it's a little floaty boaty. It feels a little more like you're piloting a boat than driving a vehicle on the road. It does a good job of soaking up bumps and imperfections in the pavement or off-road, but does give you a little more motion inside the vehicle, which may or may not be a good thing. As far as visibility, I've got blind spot monitors that will beep at me if someone is in my blind spot and I put my blinker on. Overall, visibility is fairly good. That back window is a little on the small side, especially I've got both headrests up back there. Folding the headrests up, getting Tucker's child seat in the second row would definitely help with visibility there. Looking over my shoulder though, I can even see out the third window back there because that C-pillar is not too chonky. So good overall design of this. I know my parents have a 2012 boxy Pilot that the visibility is just about as good in this and in that. So that's high praise of both. Steering in it is a little loosey-goosey. It's not so much that you gotta drive it with your fingertips or anything like that, but it's not precise. It does everything quite well. If you were gonna take this to a cabin in the woods somewhere and you needed to have four-wheel drive traction to get to a snowy, secluded cabin, this is a great vehicle to do it. You've got plenty of room all the way around, lots of good safety tech, and a lot of thoughtful touches. Honda has really knocked this one out of the park. I am very impressed with this overall vehicle and what it is capable of. That is about it for me here in the Honda Pilot Trailsport. If you want to see more from us, hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you will see our family review that drops next, where Holly's behind the wheel, Tucker's way back in the back seat, I install his car seat, all that fun stuff. You can find us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, YouTube. Everything is at GT Garage Talk, or you can go to gtgaragetalk.com. But as for me, in the floaty boaty on-road Honda Pilot Trailsport, until next time, gearheads, bye.